Good afternoon. I am Wendi Johnson, and I am the artistic director of Full Circle Players here in Riverside. I also happen to have the honor of being the director of Electra. The Full Circle Players publicity team asked me to talk a little bit about being the director of Electra, about my process, and about specifically talking about why tragedy. So let me begin with a little bit about my background. I have been directing and acting since I was 8 years old. I have a deep passion for theater. I did it in high school and I have a major in college. I have a master's degree in Shakespearean Studies, and I also just finished my master's in directing at Roosevelt University in Chicago. I love theater, and I am passionate about telling and crazy, wonderful, awesome stories, and about turning a mirror onto society. So how did I come to decide to do Electra? Well, in 2019, after we had done Othello, we were looking for a play to do that was not Shakespeare in the next year, because we don't want to be known as a Shakespearean theater company. We are not a Shakespearean theater company. We do all kinds of things. Our focus is that which is very old and that which is very new. So we have a new play festival, and the new play festival will be coming up in May of 2024, which we'll be taking submissions for plays. And at this point, I wanted to do something that wasn't Shakespeare. And so I talked to my good friend, Rob Crisell, about some kind of adaptation of something, and he suggested Greek. And then after a bit of conversation, we decided that Electra would be the perfect play for Full Circle Players. And he started with an excellent adaptation that we did a reading for in 2020, starting in March. It was fantastic. And right when that reading began, when we were starting to do our changes for it, into the changes to the play, the COVID pandemic happened. And so we were shut down just like everybody else. And it seemed for a long time that doing Electra was going to go to the wayside. I mean, honestly, it seemed like all theater was going to go to the wayside for a really long time. Everything to the wayside. So it was really exciting for me to be able to talk to Rob last year and say, hey, I think we're ready to do Electra. And so he did some more revisions with a friend of his, and you can see his video on our YouTube channel, or further on in our feed if you'd like to see about his process, which was pretty incredible. And so after we did Comedy of Errors, we began rehearsals for Electra. Electra is a really powerful story, and why I say it's powerful is because it has so many themes that just connect to every human. I mean, it's a daughter, it's a family, it's a dysfunctional family who is going through some really tough times. It's also the story of humanity. The question that we started to look at, or I started to look at right away, was the focus on revenge. Electra is a revenge tragedy. Electra and her brother Orestes take revenge on their mother and her lover Aegisthus for the death of their father Agamemnon. Agamemnon is the Greek great warrior of the Trojan War who had to sacrifice his daughter Iphigenia in order for the Greeks to be able to have safe travels to Troy. Well, this didn't sit well with Clytemnestra, as you might have as well imagine, and when he did return from the Trojan War, he was met with a bath and a loving embrace of his wife, and Aegisthus murdering him in his bathtub. Orestes was shoved away into banishment, in hiding, so that they would not kill him, because it is the job of the child to avenge the death of the parent, especially the boy child. And so Electra rescues Orestes and sends him off with a tutor, and then she and her sister are there in town, and she is left in squalor. Her whole life is surrounded into the avenging the death of her father and the futility of his death. And of course, her mother feels that she is justified in everything that she did. and consequently we have the story that we have. Well, the question I wanted to ask, and I felt was so important in this time and day, is blood for blood. When will this end? When will this end? When will we as a humanity stop needing to enact revenge? And this is why we chose Sophocles' version of Electra, because Aeschylus and Euripides also have a version. But it's in Sophocles' version that we have actually a philosophical question answered, or almost like a morality of when will the bloodshed end. And as I said, this could happen in anything, whether we're talking about current events or just even family events, where family against family and blood against blood, the civil war in our country. When will humanity come and find their truth of who they are? That's what's so powerful about tragedy. Tragedy it helps us deal with catharsis and deal with the deep, dark questions. It turns a mirror onto us. So we, as Aristotle talked about in his Poetics, we deal with the matter of two things when we're dealing with the tragedy of Greek tragedy. One is the idea of pity. We pity the protagonist and what they're going through. We have compassion for Electra and her plight. We see ourselves, and we feel the fear of what the consequences are for the actions that she and her brother are going to take, and we are healed from that. Electra is an extremely powerful play, and I wanted to deal with not just the idea of a revenge tragedy that's gruesome and bloody, but to look at a family who is going through a deep crisis, a family who yearns to be connected to one another, but because of their own issues, their own things that they are dealing with, and their own stubbornness and their own ego, they are not able to connect to each other and heal. Unfortunately, the end of the play is extremely tragic. But in that, we have the power of Greek theater. Electra opens on Thursday, October 26th, and plays through November 5th. It is an extremely powerful production with a lot of vengeance and acts of violence towards others, including two children to their mother. It is very intense and not intended for children under 13. But it is a powerful tragedy, and it is extremely well acted, and I have had the honor of an excellent design team and an amazing creative team and an amazing team of actors to help breathe life into this story. I hope you will join us over this next couple of weeks as we bring Electra to the Box Theater upstairs from the Food Lab in October, just in time for Halloween. It's going to be an amazing experience. I hope to see you there. Thank you.